Hello, everyone. Whew. Let's see if people hop on here real quick. My nerves are kind of railing right now. See my hand. So I wanted to hop on here today to give an update. I haven't been on in a while, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to really start. I guess I should start with the fact that most of you already know that, those who don't know, I have breast cancer. I had a double mastectomy at the end of March during the quarantine shutdown because it had to be rushed or I wouldn't get my surgery. I was put in a position where I either had to get implants or expanders instead of the surgery that used my own tissue to reconstruct. That was a really hard decision for me because of my very strong autoimmune history of having 7 different autoimmune diseases, and I was petrified because I know quite a few women who have had to have their implants removed because it made them sick, and many of their symptoms were autoimmune symptoms. The body basically rejects the implants either quickly or over time because it's a foreign body in the body, so it attacks it. But I was reassured from the surgeons saying that I shouldn't have any reaction because they're only going to be in temporarily until I can get the other reconstruction using my tissue. They also assured me that if I had any systemic issues, they would get them out within days and we would just go back to the drawing board. That all changed when I started having symptoms and I started letting them know what was happening. The surgeon completely changed his tune. He told me that there's no way I could be reacting to them because the only thing that's in them is silicone dioxide. And when I tried to explain to him that there were 40 toxic chemicals in the shell alone, including multiple heavy metals, he completely dismissed me and said if they were that toxic, the FDA wouldn't approve them. So, and he flat out told me that he's not taking them out because I didn't have a localized breast infection. So even though I had a systemic whole body infection happening, that wasn't warranted to remove them. So I try to contain myself here because I don't want to be a sobbing mess. So I refocused and went on a search to see if the surgeon who I had scheduled the DIEP flap reconstruction with, if he could get me in sooner. I had made an appointment with him. I showed him what I was talking about. I showed him my lab results from my other doctors that showed that my body was reacting. He agreed that they needed to come out and he was going to try his best to see if he could fit me in sooner. That has proven to be unsuccessful, unfortunately, mainly because DIEP flap reconstruction is a minimum of an 8-hour surgery. So it's a large time slot that has to be filled or has to be canceled so that I can be in that one. After months of symptoms getting worse and more symptoms randomly appearing, I finally reached a point where I've had to make that hard decision to not do any reconstruction and to just go flat. This has been something that's kind of weighed heavily on me from the very beginning. of my diagnosis. I don't care about having big breasts. I'm not a vain person. I don't put a whole lot of emphasis on what I look like to other people. I put emphasis on feeling good and being comfortable in my own skin. I was petrified of what it would do to me mentally, how I would be able to handle looking in the mirror every day and being reminded of what cancer took from me. I know that I'm going to overcome this somehow. But I didn't want to be reminded of what it did. But in an effort to help my body to stop being poisoned by these implants, it's a choice that I really have to make, because I need my body to be able to heal. And as long as it is being occupied with fighting against a foreign body in my body, it's not doing what it needs to be doing to continue to fight the cancer. So I've prayed about this really hard, that I would be directed, I would be guided to what needs to be done. And so even though I made the decision, okay, well, I'm just going to call my surgeon and say, all right, I've made the decision to just get the implants out and not do any reconstruction. Hopefully they can get me in sooner, because it's a much shorter surgery. And it's a much easier recovery compared to the 8-week recovery for the deep flap reconstruction. I called, and, his scheduler said that, she could see what she could do, and I didn't hear back. I put a message out on one of my breast implant illness support pages asking for any recommendations for surgeons that were anywhere near around Maryland that specialized in helping women like myself get the explants and having them taken out correctly, because a lot of surgeons just want to take the implant out and they leave the capsule, which the capsule is what the body does to initially attack the implant. It creates scar tissue around the whole implant, so it encapsulates it. If somebody is suffering from a reaction to the implants and the surgeon doesn't take the capsule out completely, get all of that scar tissue, the patient won't recover, because those toxins are still in that scar tissue. So I wanted to make sure that I got somebody that would make sure that they got everything out so my body can heal. I waited a little while, and I got a notification that this chiropractor that I follow was live, and he was talking about breast implant illness. And I remember several months ago, I watched a video of his, and he was talking about how his wife is dealing with breast implant illness. And so I decided to click on his live and watch it. And of course, it's he and his wife, and they're talking about all her symptoms, her experience, what it's done to their life, and the fact that she is finally getting her explant done this week. And so they started talking about how they've gone out of state to this specific doctor, and how she specializes. She's a surgeon, but she does not she refuses to put implants in. She specializes in doing explants for the thousands of women that realize that their health issues are caused by the implants. She sees patients all over the United States and in 46 different countries. And she does her surgeries in a way that is so much less traumatic to the body. And she's originally from Taiwan. She came to the U.S. when she was 12, and she went to Yale when she was 16. She's everything that I read about her. She's absolutely brilliant, and she really puts her patients first. Like, she helps to focus on helping them detox. She puts them on a strict diet and supplement regimen before surgery and after. Even the way they treat you as far as they handle your pain is completely based on, she focuses a lot on Eastern medicine. So it keeps the body at peace and not in a heightened state. So, you know, she said that she rarely ever has a patient that has to use narcotics after surgery. That they mainly only have to use arnica, and maybe sometimes, you know, patients will use a mild anti-inflammatory. But so I went to this woman's site. I was like, I need to find out about this doctor. And I started reading her page and watching some webinars, and I got so much hope. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to find a way to see this doctor. It's in Ohio, but I was pulled to call her, and I thought surely they won't be able to get me in because she's so sought after. And so I had called, and I spoke to a woman who left a message for the CEO to call me, and told her my situation, you know, with the cancer and all the symptoms and everything. And she asked some health questions, and she said that the lady would call me back the following morning. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to get my hopes up, but okay, wait to see what she says. And so a couple hours went by, and I saw that I had notifications that people had commented on my posts on the breast implant illness page. And a couple people had posted like specific names, and this other girl posted a website for breast implant illness, and I clicked on it, and it went directly to the explant surgeons page, where it has a list of surgeons that are like highly recommended, and it lists their prices and where they're located and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of sat in shock for a minute, because I was feeling that I was getting signs, I was getting signals that this is the path I needed to follow. Because when I scrolled down, this surgeon's name was the very first one on the list. And I just sat there and stared at the screen, because I never imagined that I would be praying about something so much and asking to be guided in the direction I needed to go, only to have the same exact surgeon's name brought up to me in two different ways by completely different people on the same day. So the next morning, I got a call first thing in the morning from Linda, is her name, and she told me all about how things work. And I'm sorry. She said, because of the situation and the urgency of you needing to get these things out of your body so you can heal, I can get you in as early as the 19th. And as soon as she said that, I just broke down in tears. And she's like, I'm so sorry. She's like, I know having another surgery is scary, but I assure you that, and I cut her off. I'm like, no, I'm not scared. Like, this is like an answer to my prayers. I mean, I know many of you probably can't understand this, and you're like, God, why are you so emotional? Because you got a surgery date. But if any of you can even fathom what it's been like to live like this since March, you would understand. So I've talked to some friends and, of course, my husband, and I've had to basically swallow my pride because from the beginning of this, I've had so many people in my life saying, Shana, you need to do a GoFundMe. You need to do something to help to cushion some of these costs because, you know, cancer treatment is expensive. And at the time, we had some savings that we were planning on using for a house, but we thought, well, we don't want to ask for help. That's just not in my nature to ask, and it's very uncomfortable. So we're like, well, we're just gonna use our insurance and see what they cover, and if we have to, we'll forego buying the house and just use whatever's in that savings to cover the cost. But it's dwindling very fast. And it's starting to weigh on me because even when I was researching the cost of having the explant and the deep flap reconstruction, it was going to be over $30,000. Granted, insurance covers some of that, but I'm finding that even when insurance covers stuff, it's still a lot of money that we have to pay because the one test, the single test, where they tested the tumor to see if my body would even respond to chemo, was over $5,000. In that, after insurance covered, we still owed over $700 on a single test. So then you think about everything else, the pathology, the labs, the scans, the actual surgery, the anesthesia, like all these different departments that have their own bills that they send to you. It just adds up really fast, and I know that if I do the deep flap that I'm going to have multiple surgeries for revisions, which is going to be just tack it on to those expenses, right? But if I just have the explant and go flat, I can avoid some of that. So the problem we face right now is that even though the surgery can happen soon, and there's no risk of it being canceled or delayed because of what is happening in any of the states, because it's a private clinic. The way they're set up is you pay up front and then you submit for reimbursement after the surgery. It's actually how a lot of my cancer treatments are, because I choose alternative routes. Some of them aren't covered by insurance at all. But I'm still able to submit to see if they'll reimburse anything. So right now I'm just kind of of the state of mind that this is going to happen. It has to happen. It has to happen. I don't know how we're going to come up with that up front, but it's going to happen. We're going to find a way. My friends finally said, Shana, you got to give in. You got to swallow your pride. You have to do the GoFundMe. There's no shame in asking for help. So, but I never like to inconvenience anybody. And So it's hard for me to even ask when I know that there's so many people that are struggling right now. But, you know, one thing my girlfriend pointed out was that even if they can't give, they can share. They can share your story. And I know I've given to GoFundMe's before when I've seen a random story go by and I read their story and I just felt compelled to just be like, $10, $20, whatever. A small amount it might be, I know it helps in some way. So I'm doing this video because I finally have hope and I finally have a light at the end of the tunnel. But I need help. My family needs help. The financial impacts that those autoimmune diseases had on our family almost destroyed us. And I can't let that happen with this. So, some of you may already seen my friend who created the GoFundMe, she shared it. But I'm going to share it again. And if you would be so kind to at least just share it. If you can't help, I completely understand. I've been in positions before where I wish that I could have a little extra to give and I couldn't. But just share it. If nothing else, just share it. So, in the meantime, just say some prayers for me, for some peace and acceptance, to kind of help with the fear that I have of what it's going to be like to look at my body and be reminded every day of what cancer took from me. Anyway, I thank you guys. I appreciate you guys, the ones that have watched, and any support that you can give. So, yeah, I hope you guys are having a good day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.